So this is actually an activity I do with the students that I sometimes do guest lectures for at Berkeley College. So this is like a real test sheet that you get. Again, this is an older one, but it still has the color reactions that we care about right now. And then these are real test results from the labs, from ECLC data, and they photograph their shit. So basically, it's just an exercise for people to look at get used to reading this chart and seeing to the best of their ability how this matches up. Like, it's basically using real life photos of real life substances that were confirmed with GCMS and seeing how someone could basically interpret it. So like this one here, it already started orange. So this is the marquee as labeled here, and here it's marquee. There's a marquee column. If you're starting with orange, you already see this could be an amphetamine. So they don't unfortunately test with Simon, which would be the determining factor of whether or not it may be amphetamine versus methamphetamine. But the lab doesn't test with Simon. I don't know why they don't test with the other reagents. The two people who operate that lab are very interesting people. We gotta inquire about that. I will talk to some folks because we should just have like all the results. We're already testing these substances with GCMS. Well, why not confirm what they look like on all the reagents that we also sell? Anyway, we know that it's one of these two. According to the lab test results, though, the GCMS, it was methamphetamine, but unfortunately they didn't use a Simon reagent, which would help tell the difference between amphetamine and methamphetamine. Sample 87 also starts orange. So this one you might be like, is this also an amphetamine? Because it gives you that green reaction there on the mandolin, like that. Actually, this one's a trick. This one's a fucking trick. It's fentanyl. And you're like, oh shit, fentanyl gives the same reaction as amphetamine on reagents? Yes, it does. But that's why I use a fentanyl test strip to detect it, because it's probably in such a small amount that the reagent is not even going to pick it up anyway. Like, you're going to be testing like an isolated portion of it, and the fentanyl with active in 3 milligrams might not even be in that sample. So don't fucking use reagents to be like testing fentanyl unless you have like a pile of fentanyl, which, yikes, what are you doing? Chill. Also, you can't fucking overdose from touching fentanyl. But still, I can just imagine that, like, if you had a pile of it, some of it might get into the air, you might inhale a little bit. I don't know. I accidentally inhaled some of that creatine. But, creatine is good for your muscles. This one here, this one is like a magenta color. You want to look down the chart and be like, all right, what's kind of magenta? You're down in kind of opiate section. You have sort of like a bluish, grayish color here. And you're like, all right, Mechy, what's kind of bluish, grayish? We're seeing something sort of that nature here in the heroin at the very, very bottom of the screen. And then you also see like, oh, there's like an orangey brown color, which if I move, you can see there's like sort of an orangey brown color in heroin. But also in codeine, but like this middle result for Mechy doesn't really align with that. If you want to continue this game more, this one here, we see like 3 dark colors, which we've already established. Sometimes it's MDMA and sometimes that's a benzofuran. In this case, it was MDMA. You have this dark purple black smudge, and you have like this bluish dark kind of, turning to black smudge. Then you have this smudge, it's like, turning very, very black. And that one's MDMA. And then this one, all 3 of them are just black, which, if you didn't see these streaks of other color in this one, could look fairly identical to this. This is 6-APB. And, that's like on this part of the chart. You have this one that looks like it's kind of like no reaction on all 3, but actually there's like a hint of orange there. That one is ketamine. So if you were starting with, Marquise, Mechy, no reaction, but then you got a reaction on mandolin, it's definitely not APBP. Start looking down, see PMA versus PMMA. Not very common anymore, don't worry about it. It's also another reagent entirely that will better test for these substances, so don't really use this for that. continuing down, you see there's no reaction on this one. This is ketamine. It turns orange to brown. Methoxetamine, which used to be a common adult term for ketamine, which is like gone MIA, would turn greenish brown on Meki, whereas ketamine would not react at all, and then turn like a different yellowish color on the mandolin. So those are just like 3 primary reagents that can be used for testing, but those aren't the only ones. And to be honest, in another video I'll explain about doing certain types of testing and knowing which reagents you might want to start with or even use. Like sometimes you don't even have all of them. Sometimes you don't need all of them because you're not going to get new information by seeing the same reaction basically like 5 times. So, you know, we've kind of tried to make it simpler for people, especially if they don't have like $100 to get all of them, you know. So same deal here. I think this one's 2CB based on like these greenish blues, blah blah blah. And this one, what was that? So it starts black. Oh, this is DXM, because this is one I was using as an example for a false positive for MDMA. You start with, you know, if you're starting with Marquis and you're like, oh, okay, like it's turning black, it might be this. And back in the day, sometimes DXM would be sold in pills that were supposed to be MDMA. So it'd be like, oh, okay, like maybe I got MDMA, I'm done testing. Boom, got the positive reaction. But then you test it with the Meki and then it turns this shit color instead of anywhere near bluish, you know, to black. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, this shit is not MDMA. Like, you got way too confident in that first result when we've explained that there are things like false positives. So here's DXM starting at black. It's not, the MDMA is cut off in this slide, so like black, black. But then the rest of DXM, you know, goes yellow, no reaction. And just remember that mandolin starts yellow already. I don't, yeah, whatever. I'm done here.